What is it you pray for?
Greetings, salutations, and good evening. Welcome to the 35th episode of Abyssal Musings with myself, your host, Samuel the Infamous. I also forgot to turn my phone down. You can probably hear it in the background because my mic is awesome.
That's my phone that went off.
Yeah, well, I was trying to take the bullet for you there, buddy. I also have with me my co-host, Lawrence Knight. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good to see you. Glad you're here. And with us tonight is Know Me Without You. How are
Hi.
you?
Good. How are you guys? I'm
No.
excited to be here with y'all.
Nice, not too bad, not too shabby. Could have been better, could have been worse. We got this new thing in my town now, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard of.
What's that?
We have lightning alarms.
That's not stupid.
Yes, it
No,
is.
no.
In Wyoming on the high plains in storm season, yes, it is. Of
Yeah.
course, there's lightning.
I agree with Samuel on this. Why? So does it alarm go off as soon as one strikes the ground?
If they think it's going to be like a danger to anybody who's out and about, then they're going to set the alarms off and like, oh my gosh, you better take cover. There might be lightning in your area, and it's like, God, is enough with faulty tornado alarms, like. Because they don't always go off when they're supposed to, and sometimes they go off when there's nothing to worry about. So yeah, it's something I found out today, because we've had lightning for 2 weeks, and today they decided to turn those on. But whatever.
I don't envy where you live.
Yeah,
Me neither.
I'd wager it had something to do with local government with their heads up their asses and a surplus to spend would be my guess.
Yeah, just pocketing your tax dollars. No big deal.
Yeah, I don't want to get too specific on that because A, I work for them, and B, and B, I don't want to give too much information about the specificity of my location away. But
Sure.
So let's greet the cat. It appears greet the chat. Jesus Christ! Sorry, guys, my tongue's a little tied. Luke Astley was first today, which is a first on the channel.
I can't
well.
even get mad at her because I've done that on her channel so many times. I've done it like 3 days in advance. 3 days in advance of her show starting.
We got Clue coming second. We got Shadow with us tonight. Always good to see you. Suka, yes, you might have noticed that I have changed not only my profile picture, but my avatar and the background of my StreamYards. The reason for that is because it's Pride Month and I am taking pride.
Take it. It's yours.
That's how we're doing it. I am proud of my country. I'm proud to be a U.S. citizen. I don't see why I shouldn't get to. Yeah, I don't see why I shouldn't get to display that too. So we're taking it back. You hear that, bitches? Just saying. So yes.
well, apparently you aren't the only one taking it back. Hell is frozen over. I saw an article of parents at a school in Los Angeles protesting Pride.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that.
You know what's funny is this this whole using your flag thing to take back June actually started as a grassroots internet movement in Germany yesterday.
Okay.
I just think it's hilarious that it's the Germans who started the resistance against totalitarian blitzkrieg.
Leave it to the Germans to start a revolution on something.
Yeah.
If you think about it, though, who better? They know the signs.
Right. And so I did see. I don't have a copy of it. I wish I did. But I did see a version of the pride flag. You know, the one that's got like the triangular bars on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Where they had changed all the colors to represent the colors of the German flag and had added a double-headed eagle to it. I was just like, well, that sends a message.
Yeah.
So we also have with us Kohai. Good to see you. Glad you're here. And yeah, I think I saw Joker voice here. Yep, there he is. Still in your chair.
Yeah, whatever.
And I see Burnaby. Good deal. Glad to see you. All right, folks. So let's get down to brass tacks. Happy fucking Pride Month.
Let's go.
You know, the best pride is national pride.
It's true.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm proud to be an American. What's that song? I can't remember that song. It's like, I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'll
Really?
stand up next to you. Then I don't know the rest of the lyrics.
That's a shame because you actually sound like you got a pretty good voice there. So,
I try.
yeah. Well, that is true. I saw Melanie Mack tweeted something out today, and it had it was basically a picture of fire raining from the skies on an ancient city, like say Sodom or Gomorrah, and it, you know, said the last time Pride was a thing.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I hope I don't get, you know, canceled for this, but if I do, it was nice knowing y'all. And somebody in the comments had posted, you know, yeah, they'll get all salty about it. So I put an artist rendition of Lot's wife after she looked back.
Yeah. Turn into salt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, people are getting a little testy this week because not only Melanie Mack's tweet, so Keith Olbermann's going after Chrissy on her Chick-fil-A comment.
That was like the lamest, dumbest, like least offensive joke ever. It wasn't even a whole joke. She left the punchline off because she was trying to be nice.
Yeah, in the video you can see she hesitated, like, "Oh, I'm on national television. I can't get canceled for this." So she tamed it as much as she could, and she still gets heat from it, which is ridiculous because left can trigger anything can trigger left. So I don't understand now. The left is super supportive of Chick-fil-A. Like, yeah, they're now like where people are being included. There's diversity. When, what was it, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, they were so anti-Chick-fil-A because whatever
2 years ago.
Well, that too. But I remember working at Disney World at the time, and then some controversy happened with Chick-fil-A against the gays. But it was something super tame. I can't remember. But it was back in 2012, and a lot of like LGBTQIS blah blah blah, blah people were retaliating against Chick-fil-A. And I have good gay friends who are like, "There's nothing we hate about Chick-fil-A." Like, I think it's just because they didn't support it, or like Dan Cathy before he passed. Like, made his stance on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Is because it was a business that was owned and operated by Christians.
Yeah.
You know, I read somewhere recently that with that, you remember that bakery that wouldn't make the gay wedding cake?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So apparently those guys had to drive something like 68 miles and pass like 47 other bakeries
just to go to
his. There were also several that were operated by Muslims and several that were operated by Jews, and there were a bunch of ones that were operated by gays who would have been more than happy to do it, and a bunch of secular ones too. Like something like 47 secular bakeries they passed to go to that one. You know,
it was a targeted. I wouldn't say hit, but he was targeted.
Oh heck yeah!
Oh yeah!
And out of all those 47 bakeries, I'm sure there had been 40 of them have the flag out on display to show their support for that community. So why just that one Christian baker?
Yeah. See, here's the misconception that a lot of people that I know that I've known that support the LGBT community is that they always keep saying, "Oh, he did this and he violated this, he violated that." But I always ask them, I said, "Do you know the details of it?" And they're like, "Yeah, he denied them service." And I said, "No." I said, "First of all, you can't make somebody violate their religion to accommodate you. You don't have the right to do that." I said, "Second, for him to have done what they said, he would have had to deny them entry into his bakery. He didn't do that. They wanted him to make a case specifically for what they were doing. He said he couldn't do it because of his religious beliefs. And I understand. If anybody that's a Christian has read the Old Testament, you understand why he said what he said, because it's I wouldn't say fear, but just, hey, I can't participate in that. By him doing that, he's participating in it.
Mm-hmm.
And from what his understanding is, God's not going to see it that way. It's just, hey, what I tell you to do, So what he said was, hey, you can buy any cake in here. I'll give you the materials and you can put it together. They didn't like that.
I thought that was a reasonable compromise, actually.
Yeah. And they didn't like that.
Yeah.
Right. and they didn't like that. They wanted this man to throw his religion out of the window and accommodate them. And when he didn't do it, then they went to the state and reported him to the state. After the state lost, after the state lost to the Supreme Court, 3 weeks later they sent another couple in him and in there, and he did the same thing, and they went after him again, having already lost. And the thing is that what people they didn't understand was that there was a lot of different cakes he didn't make. He didn't make cakes for Halloween. He didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just like the media just blew it up and turned it into something, you know, that it wasn't, in order to get people to support what Colorado's government was doing, which was illegal. They were
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
straight up harassing this man.
Well, and here's the other thing that they seem to be forgetting about privately owned businesses in this country.
Yeah.
All privately owned vendors have the right to refuse service to
Yes,
anyone
they
for
do.
any reason at
Yep.
any time. They have that right. Every one of them does. Gay places do, straight places do, secular places do, Christian places do. They all have that same right. You can't force them to serve you. If they don't
Nope.
want to serve you, they don't have to serve you. And the fact that he went out of his way to offer a compromise rather than just outright refusing service, I think speaks to his character.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know,
And the fact that he stood his ground and didn't back down and apologize, what most people are doing these days, he knew who he was. He wasn't going to compromise, and he provided an alternative, and they didn't like it.
well, Shadow actually makes a great point here. It'd be like, like I don't attend mass, for example. I'm not Catholic. Most of their beliefs are against my own. It would be incorrect of me to participate because so just as it would have been incorrect of this man to violate his beliefs, and that's something I think that we've forgotten in this, especially in the West, and in this country, but is that the freedoms that we all cling so dearly to apply to everyone, whether you agree with them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Period. He has absolutely the right to express his religious beliefs. And if those religious beliefs are in conflict with your political beliefs, he's under no obligation to bow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I believe it was earlier this year or last year, he got hit again, that same Christian baker in Colorado, for refusing to make a transgender cake, like a gender reveal cake that they're transitioning. And he stood his ground again. Like, I'm not making that cake. And I believe that person is going after them or going after him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, and I guess the lesson here, folks, the lesson is, I suppose the lesson that the left wants us to learn is that, if you refuse to bend the knee, we'll make you bend the knee. So you're going to do it one way or the other. So you might as well just do it voluntarily. However, I think the real lesson here is an old saying. It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees.
Yep.
Yep. And you know what? And honestly, by now, if I was him, like, I would have looked at him. I would have said, "Why are you still in this state? Leave." I mean,
Yeah.
I know you don't have to leave, but this isn't by accident. Because if I remember the second time that they went after him after he won, if they found out that the state actually sent the couple that went after him the second time, the state sent them in there.
Yeah.
So, and they used to do that to Denny's years ago when I was little. And when they were saying that Denny's weren't serving black people, and it got to the point where undercover FBI agents was going in there and waiting to see if they were going to be served or not. And Denny's was getting in trouble left and right for not serving people.
Dang. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Sorry.
What's funny about Denny's is so they're at the top of the list of the businesses in this country that have started throwing out pride stuff. And what's funny to me about that is like, and Larry, I'm sure you remember this. You remember about 30 years ago in, I want to say Lincoln, Nebraska, there was a Denny's there. They got into all kinds of trouble for vehemently refusing to service black people.
Yeah.
Like, it was a whole thing, national news coverage and everything like that. So I do find it amusing that Denny's has jumped on this bandwagon. It's like they're trying to avoid a repeat performance. Because this was in the middle of the 90s, man, and it was like it was back in the 1960s, 1950s, where they had signs saying we don't serve coloreds over the doors.
Whoa.
I mean, they didn't actually have those signs, but that was the sentiment. That was what they, how they approached that. And they, and it was just like, it's like, dude, you can't do that. And they were like, no, we don't, because it was run by a couple of people who hated black people.
Mhm.
And it wasn't the whole restaurant. It was just that franchise. Because, like, if you guys know how the franchise works,
Yeah, I know
basically,
how it works.
basically you've got a manager of a location, and then you've got a co-manager who is also the owner of that location. So he owns that store, but he still funnels profits to the corporation.
Yeah,
He has to pay
and and
royalties.
and the thing is, he can get in trouble too
Mhm.
if he's doing things that is outside, they're still beholden to the corporate office. It's
Mhm.
almost it's like pimps and hoes kind of. It's
Yes.
like they get to keep some money, but they're kicking it up to their pimp daddy.
Yeah. And if you're a franchise owner, you have to pay the royalties and you have to follow and abide by whatever the contract was stated when you first bought the franchise. And it's once you own that business, you can profit it, you can market however you want it, but ultimately it's still reflection of the main corporate business. So if you are running your mouth and like we don't serve colors, guess what? Corporate's going to come over and take over your store again because you're running that corporate business name through the ground.
Mhm. Yeah. I think we've got more on the way. This says one of two. Joker Voice says, I got accused of stifling free speech because I didn't want political talk in my bar on my shift. If they want to go outside on the street corner, go for it. I think that's fair. I mean, it
Yeah.
is a private business. And then we should have the second one's up. There's a bit of a delay, folks, between when the comments go up on the live chat on YouTube and when they show up on StreamYard. So apologies for that. But second part, my bar is private business that is open to the public. Your First Amendment rights end when you enter the door. Again, I think that's fair to a degree. Um, private business and private property are obviously they operate under, you know, basically the owner's rights overrule
Yeah.
everyone else's there, kind of thing. Out on the street corner, though, you're right. They can say whatever the hell they like.
It's like those people who come to university campuses and preach the gospel, like you're condemned to hell if you're dressed like this, or if you believe like this, or if you're homosexual. Like, that's cool. Just take it to the sidewalk. You're not allowed on campus.
Well, on campuses, that depends. If that campus is a state university, then it is public property, and they have
Yeah.
every right to be there.
Yeah, that's true. But if they're causing harm, which there was one at the university I used to go to, where I can't remember, but I think there was a physical altercation. I think one person just got heated of what this preacher was saying. And of course, the preacher defended himself. But the way the university saw it is like, hey, well, you were harassing people. And this is before like triggered and
Mhm.
I got attacked thing, but the way the university saw it is like, yeah, you kind of threatened them by saying these things, and that student felt threatened. So of course he had to defend himself. Since you punch back, you're not allowed on campus anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a silly world that we live in that people can't understand it. Not understand, but just be civil with each other. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of Christian preachers or evangelists. I just let them be. I don't try to engage in conversation because I have my own opinions, but usually it's their voice over mine. It goes one ear out the other. They're not listening to what I'm saying because they're right, I'm wrong, and I'm condemned to hell for it. Just no one knows how to be civil or decent with each other. They can't engage in conversations. No one knows how to open their mind and see the perspective of that person. But if you're yelling and shouting at me, you're not going to get my attention. You're not going to have any civil conversation with me.
Yeah, that's generally been my experience. Like Larry and I have had many conversations about faith and about where our faiths differ and where they don't. Believe it or not, folks, Larry and I talk offline probably more than we talk online, but you know,
Yeah, you do.
we're friends in real life as well. But you know, and the reason that I can do that with him is because he approaches it as a conversation. Whereas I
Yeah.
have been in situations with people of whatever it was they were selling. You know, I'm not picking on Christians specifically here. Just whatever it was that they were selling, where they were so dead set into hammering the idea that I was just wrong in whatever stance I took, that they weren't actually conversing. They were lecturing at me, and I, like yourself, I don't respond well to that.
Mhm.
Which is kind of ironic because if you ask my kids, I do a lot of that too. But you know, but they, you know, if they were to approach it as a genuine conversation and genuinely want to hear, you know, the other side and opposing viewpoints, and not even just to be convinced, but just to have the talk,
Mhm.
right? You can have a perfectly civil conversation between two people who are not of like mind, where at the end of the conversation, neither one of them's are, you know, their minds have been changed, but they can shake hands and walk away because they had that conversation in good faith. That is a possible thing. We have forgotten that. You know, that's a civilized thing.
Mhm. It agree to disagree. No
Yeah.
one knows how to do that anymore. And so I want to keep that a thing now because we're in a generation where people's like, well, you're wrong and I'm offended and your views aren't aligning with my views. I can't hang out with you, which is dumb. Like, how are you to make friends if you don't meet strangers or don't meet people who don't think like you? I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative as well. A lot of my friends are atheists, a part of the LGBT alphabet community, leftists. Those are my bestest friends I have in my life. But yeah, we agree to disagree, and I keep close to them because the fact that we can shake hands, walk away, and still talk about things that are not relevant to politics or faith. That's amazing because those are good friends who poured into my life and I poured into theirs. I've shared my ideas where I am pro life, but if someone's pro choice, like, hey, that's your choice. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can't change your mind. I would like to provide alternatives, but I'm not going to scream at your face and shove it down your throat like you're wrong, you're going to hell, and how can you kill this innocent baby that's in your stomach right now? That's something I'll never do because that's attacking. And I have to be respectful of that person's choice. Everyone has a free will and people don't understand that anymore.
Right. You know, Suka, people did. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of division, even among blood relations, over the how shall we call it, the stroke poke. Um, you know, it was bad, but I would probably argue that this stuff started earlier than that. It started around the advent of social media back in the mid 2000s. It really picked up steam between 2012 and 2016, and then it just got out of hand after that. You know, and yeah, when the jab came around, people were already on edge at that point, I would say, though, you know, in general, you know, so people were already leaving each other behind for, political reasons or, ideological reasons. And then, obviously health crisis reasons with this. Um, Not that I believe that it was a health crisis, but a lot of people did. And that caused a rift,
Mhm.
you know? So, yep, they did. They did.
Yeah. And that's
Stay
why I avoid dating apps now.
stay off the apps. They're poison. They're not designed to help you find a real long lasting relationship anyway.
It's only collecting data.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only dating apps are only for hookups anyway. I mean, granted, there are some friends of mine who've met on dating apps, but 90% of the time it's hookups.
Mhm.
So I have no luck with dating apps. I haven't done dating apps in like 3 or 4 years. And in the time that I've been doing that, uh, it's always been like, hey, just come over to my place. No, I don't want to go over to your place. I'm perfectly fine where I'm at. If you don't want to meet me for coffee, I'm out. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sugar Voice makes a point here about avoiding politics. Unless you're asked your opinion, do not engage. I think in general in life, like at the supermarket and or at the gym or just walking down the street, that's probably good policy. I think in terms of interesting conversations, obviously there was a time in this country when we believed that, especially at the dinner table, but in general, if you wanted to get along, you did not bring up religion or politics. Those were the two topics that were just off the table because everybody wanted to continue to get along, and they're hot button issues for everyone on earth. Uh, I think that they make for interesting conversations, especially in settings like this. But, I also tend to engage with people who are willing to actually talk and not just, scream at each other. So, there's that. But in general, yeah, that's a good policy to have, just not to get involved in those kinds of conversations in your day-to-day life. Your life will be a lot smoother, a lot less stressful, you know. So in general.
Yeah, why would you lose sleep over that, honestly?
Mhm. Right. So, Larry,
Mm-hmm.
you've been quiet.
I'm letting the conversation flow, my friend.
Yeah, this is awfully strange of you, Larry. You're usually like engaging and hyper and little chatterbox you, but I understand you need to have a night to take it in and just let the others talk.
Well, like it's the same thing as being yelled at. If I'm cutting in and talking over everybody, how can you have a conversation like that?
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Shadow says that it's weird when people you speak with argued how their D&D characters' death camps were lawful good. Here's the thing, kid. A lot of your generation, and again, this is a generalization, but a lot of your generation has no ability to distinguish reality and fantasy. Like it's one thing to do something in fantasy. D&D is a fantasy setting. It's a game. It's escapism. It's not real life, right? Kind of like how Twitter's not real life. And there are far too many young people who don't get the distinction, who
Wait, wait, wait,
don't see
wait,
the
wait.
difference.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
stop you right there. Now, you just said that Twitter is not real life.
No, it's not.
it's
Are
just a
there real
fantasy.
people? Are there real people using it?
There are also not real people using it. So,
But there are bots.
Yes, yes, there are bots, but there's real people using it, correct?
sure.
Then it's real. It's real to them, isn't it?
Well, then you get into the my truth bullshit as opposed to the truth.
Yeah, believe your own truth is what this generation is all
Yeah,
about.
like
Speak your
an individual,
truth.
like an individual person's perception somehow trumps reality, which is simply not true.
Yeah, yeah, and the best way to describe it is like hey, if you want to believe in that fantasy, by all means go for it, but a lot of people believe in reality. So, of course, people who are in reality are going to treat you, not treat you, but like not take you serious because
Yeah,
you're so up in your mind that you don't know what to differentiate of real life or social skills or how to be an actual normal person.
yeah. I think that as much as we love technology, I think it's done more. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Like for example, so Sam was just talking to Shadow about D&D, how it's fantasy and everything. Well, those of us that are gamers know that the early release for Diablo 4 came out last night. And when I got home, I read an article that for early access, it released at midnight. There are people who are 75% of the way to the 100 level cap.
Oh yeah, but
Dang.
these are hardcore Diablo guys. They do this every season on Diablo 3 too.
But the amount of time and dedication, and I'm a gamer, and I'm just like, I couldn't.
Oh, no,
I
trust me, Larry. I have some friends who I will not hear days or even weeks end because of a certain game is out. I a good friend in college, I got so concerned for her. I actually had to call police to do a welfare check because we hadn't seen her on campus. We hadn't heard from her. She got addicted to
Candy Crush,
no.
Grand Theft Auto,
Well, no.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, World of
Yep,
Warcraft, that
that'll
one.
do. That'll do it.
Yeah. And then, yeah, but when the officer called me back, like, yeah, she's okay. She's been eating. She's just been in a campaign for X amount of hours. And we all went over, like, what the heck, Casey? Like, we all thought you died. But yeah, like, those are dedicated hardcore fans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was stationed in South Korea for a year, and I see it in real time. These people were dropping dead because they were so into the games and trying to get better in the competition that they would forget to eat and drink. Some of them were playing for like 30 hours straight, and they would just die of exhaustion.
I mean, I'm trying to low key get into gaming, but I actually have a life. Not like my life is better, but I like to go touch grass. I like to go out and get an iced coffee. So I'd rather have both, best of both worlds. Know how to give certain amount of time to each hobby, each outing, getting coffee.
The hell are you telling me to autocorrect for? For what?
No, he his
Oh,
autocorrect said Carrie instead of Larry.
oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute. What the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, I think he meant to type Larry.
Mm.
Oh, well, Shadow, I don't think you were born when I was out there. So, so if you were probably laying in a crib or something as a newborn.
Well, I mean, this would have been what he was born in, like 03.
2003. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I was already back.
Yeah,
I've been back a good 2 years.
yeah.
Yeah. Shadow, you weren't even thought of.
That's like we were talking on Sunday on the Star Trek Picard stream about 9/11 and about where we were, and it came up. It came up. Shadow is one of the people we associate with on the internet who wasn't even born when that happened, let alone too young to remember it.
Yeah.
And there's a whole generations of people coming up now who have only ever heard about it in stories.
Yep.
Read in textbooks versus
Yeah.
us that we experienced it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like my generation and the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Hmm.
We heard about it, but it happened before I was born. Not a lot before. I mean, like 15 years or so, but still.
And Hiroshima.
And that was
Oh,
that
yeah.
was about that happened about 35 years before I was born. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you're not ancient, Lou.
Wow, I mean, yeah, I don't think you're old like that, Lou. You certainly don't look it.
Yeah.
And then another big thing in history was Columbine as well.
Yeah.
Yep. I was in high school when that happened. I was right around that same age as those two idiots.
Yeah.
They would have graduated, I think, the year before me, if all had gone according to plan or whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, JV was alive during Watergate. You were pretty young during Watergate, though, too.
Yeah, you definitely were young during
I was like,
Watergate.
you're what, 52, 53? Yeah, Watergate was in, I want to say 70.
I thought
No,
Joker was 79.
no. He's in his 50s.
Okay.
Oh,
I would have thought Joker would be in his like late 30s, early 40s. Joker
Yeah.
looks good for being in his 50s.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's all the collagen he drinks.
Yeah, I mean, Larry and I
Yeah.
are both Gen X. I'm one of the
Yeah.
last of the Gen Xers. But
Yeah,
I'm
you and
just
I
under
are
that
like
wire.
you and I are like on the line, like we're on the tail end of Gen X.
Yeah, but yeah, because they although I keep seeing shit on. So every time somebody tries to like lay out when the generations are, they need to really get their shit consistent because they keep moving around when the years are for that. Historically, 1982 was the beginning of the millennial generation.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm seeing people go back as far as like 1979, which is not true, and then they'll take like because the millennials went all the way up to uh,
97, I think.
right in 97, 98, and then
Yeah.
Gen Z, the Zoomers or whatever they. No, I think actually that one went up to 99 because they were going to be the last generation before the new millennium.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, and so Zoomers came after that. But
And then now this is Gen Alpha. I
well,
think, yeah.
yeah, because Zoomers are having babies now.
Yep. Yeah.
How
No,
weird is
so
that?
I went to a high school graduation, and not a lot of people know this, but I used to be a teacher at a Christian private school with me and my good friend that everybody mistakenly thinks that we're dating. We're not. That question is the bane of our friendship. But we went to the graduation. There was 2 kids that were seniors when we started, and they already completed college, and those 2 kids are now married. And at the high school graduation, we talked to them, and they're like, yeah, you guys are the coolest teachers here. You guys were laid back. You guys didn't get on our case about anything. And we're like, yeah, well, we're glad that we made a small impact in your life. And then at the end of the conversation, what made me feel old and what made me feel like what is happening, these kids, 21 years old, they asked as a couple, can we go have lunch with you and Mr. B, which is the guy friend that we started together. It's like, what is this world that these kids that we taught when they were seniors in high school, they're married now and they want to have lunch with us. So it was a weird experience, but I'm humbled, but it was definitely weird.
I would think it was, hey, let's go have a shot together instead of let's just have lunch.
Well, these kids are like, they're from a Christian school, and they definitely have like their way of life. I don't think they drink, but if they do, I don't mind sharing or having a drink over with them.
I would think that would be weird. I couldn't get past them being like little kids.
Yeah, I still see them as little kids. They still look the same when they graduated high school in their senior year.
Yeah, I went to high school with a guy that I'm pretty good friends with now. And I mean, we were friends back then, but we reconnected in the last couple of years and all that stuff. And he's a grandfather.
Oh.
He's 2 months younger than I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't that make you feel weird, Samuel?
Yes, it does, but not as weird as it makes him feel.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you're from the area that I'm from, El Paso, you can be a grandmother at 35.
Well, there are certain across the tracks neighborhoods in Wyoming where you can be a grandmother at 30.
Yeah. And I in my age that I'm at right now, I'm successfully past the age where I avoided my first divorce. So, yeah, it feels weird, but it's a good accomplishment.
Yeah.
I guess. You didn't have to split up any assets or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can boast about that because not a lot of people can say that nowadays.
Divorce
Yeah,
is brutal. Yeah, I mean consider that a dodged bullet. It's not fun. As JV can attest, he's been through it twice. I've been through it. Not to speak on anybody else, but I know there are other people that we stream with who have.
Yeah, not to dunk on those who've experienced that.
But not to dunk,
Hey,
just not to, it's not my place to, say, kind of thing. It's not my story to tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey Josh, good to see you. Yeah. So, but it's not fun. It's not something that should be treated as casually as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it destroys people.
Yeah, it does. I know. I have good friends who gotten married. We were all rooting for them. They were in love, and then 2, 3, 4 years later, suddenly they're out of it. It's like, well, what happened? I don't know. I can't share this because the details. It's not my story to tell. Mm-hmm. But I think what's wrong nowadays is that either a couple, female, male, bridegroom, grooms, brides, they just want the vanity of the wedding. They want the image versus the commitment.
Yeah, that's.
Well, my wife and I, we we dodged a bullet because, like you said, it's the image and the commitment. We had an image of the bill that we would have to pay and the commitment that we would be forced to follow through with payments. So, so what I found out is that the college I was going to at the time, the university, had a really it's a beautiful big ballroom, and I said, man, if this is the kind of place we would be looking for, and I come to find out that because I was a student, I could rent it out. I think it was like $600, somewhere between $600 to $800, and we had everything that for like $1,200. We had the food. The person, a friend of ours, was a chef. He catered it. Had everybody in there. We bought our stuff ourselves. My wife, she made her wedding dress from scratch. She made it herself, and I mean that dress that she made, and she had somebody look at it. It was basically a $10,000 dress that she made herself.
Yeah, that's great, and that also that's a great skill to have, to say like I made my own wedding dress, and someone to say like, yeah, that's $10,000 dress
Yeah. Good night, Shadow.
by Shadow.
Yeah.
Forgetting he's got a curfew.
It's the weekend.
Yeah, he's got a curfew.
The little Shadow. But I've been in weddings where, don't get me wrong, I love both of these couples that I was part of their wedding as a bridesmaid. There was one that I was kind of peeved because I spent $350 on the bridesmaid's dress,
Ooh.
and I only wore that dress once.
Ooh.
Versus the other wedding I was in, literally most laid back. It was a good wedding. They did it in a budget, but what she told me, the theme color is navy blue. I want teacup size dress. Go at it. And that's all she did. I found a dress at Ross for $10 in that color scheme she wanted, and it worked. And you know how many times I wore that dress? Multiple times.
Yeah.
For $10 versus like a nice gown that I wore once at a wedding. And thankfully, the one that was the most expensive bridesmaid's dress that I was in, they're still going strong. They have great kids and they're still much in love. And the cheap version wedding, still going strong, have kids, and they're in the military. And they're sticking. Those are the two couples that I know that stuck together the most, despite the hardships.
Mm-hmm. I can kind of relate to that a little bit. When I got married, my soon-to-be wife at the time insisted that because I was getting a tuxedo, and I had to have it custom made because I'm not like normal people dimensions. I'm very, very tall and very lanky. And she insisted that it have those ridiculous fucking penguin tails that hang down to your knees off the back of the jacket.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was a very nice pinstripe tuxedo, but I wore it exactly one fucking time. The only things I have left, I think, are the cufflinks.
Yeah.
It was a huge amount of money to wear something for a couple of hours.
Yeah, like who really wears penguin tuxedo outfits? I know my brother, he's been in multiple weddings and he's been a groomsman, but there was 2 weddings that he was in and they gave him the option to rent or buy, but a lot of the guys bought whatever they were wearing to the wedding because they can reuse it for other special occasions. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a silly one, like a penguin tuxedo one.
Yeah, well, and that was the idea. I went with like a midnight blue pinstripe kind of deal.
Okay.
And which I might add, I looked very dashing in. I had a top hat to go with it and everything. It was awesome. But
did it fit all your tentacles in as well?
It did. It did. That was what I had this kind of crimson, like deep crimson cummerbund that went along with it. It was very nice. And the plan was to wear it at other events at some point, which we never got around to because we were too busy being in each other's throats to actually go out to events like that. So it never got worn again. It got put in the closet, and the next thing I know, it disappeared while I was moving.
Usually happens.
Yeah. So, a lot of money to throw away on a couple of pieces of. I mean, it was a 3-piece. Came with the vest, but a lot of money to throw away on some articles of clothing I was never gonna fucking wear again.
Yeah. And then which goes back to like people just want the image versus the commitment. Not to dunk on you, Samuel, but yeah, it's getting silly to spend all this money and go into debt for one night.
Yeah.
I know there's a trend going on right now with the Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas that are getting married is don't spend the money on a big wedding that you're only going to have for one night. Go to the court, get married, and then travel the world with the money that you were going to use for the wedding.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep. A lot
Yeah.
of people. That's been going on for I think about 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody realized why are we spending $30,000, $40,000? You know, which some friends of mine did. They spent $35,000 for their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you. That's a down payment on a house.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I got aside from the dress and the tuxedo, we were pretty frugal with most everything. Ended up renting out the local gathering hall for I don't know, I think $1.50, for the night because they really didn't charge that much. It was basically a warehouse with tables and chairs that you could set up, and we were pretty frugal with it. I mean, it wasn't like we spent tons of money on it because we didn't have tons of money to spend,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. This might come as a shock to some of you folks out there, but not all YouTubers make a bunch of money, and this was before YouTube, so
Yeah.
I've been below the poverty line most of my life. So you make it stretch where you can, but for certain things you gotta go out of your way if you want. What's that saying? Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
So it was either get the tux or get yelled at, kind of, which should have been a red flag, but
Hey, when you're in love, right?
right, and I spent a fair amount of money on the engagement ring, but we didn't spend that much on the actual wedding rings.
Mm-hmm.
I think altogether for both of them, we probably spent about $170. And I think mine was
Okay.
the more expensive because it was anodized tungsten.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I do still have it because it's tungsten.
Yeah.
It's a very cool ring. I just don't wear it anymore.
Yeah.
Look,
Good reason.
I got two rings that I can wear. That I wear. One is a very nice tungsten ring that I got married with that cost a grand total and very expensive $20, and a rubber ring that my wife bought me for like $2 through Amazon. So, so, I mean, if you saw the tungsten one, you would never think that it only cost $20.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with that. I said as long as it doesn't turn my finger green or purple or something like that.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, I have to have real metal because the fake one, I turn green. But I remember someone got me a necklace, and it was a nice looking necklace, and they put it on. Within an hour and a half, my neck started itching really bad, and then I looked in the mirror, and I was just green all the way around with a rash
Oh,
growing, and I was like, "Oh, it's fake, cool." And I took it off so I can, not be miserable. And came out to my friends. They're like, "What happened? Are you dying?" Like, yes, I am. I'm actually gonna go home.
I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna find a nice little coffin lid to put over me, and that's it. It's been nice knowing
well,
you guys.
well, I tell you what. Speaking of dying,
Oh, we've talked about this.
yes,
Yeah. Wait. Is this the one with the butt plug? He thought it was silicone. Or wait, what is that? Is that a bottle?
That's a
it's a bottle of deodorant. You know the aerosol, the spray. Yes, he shoved it up there.
I mean, as long as we're talking about getting fucked. Wow, this is a hard left turn, Larry.
Way to
Yeah,
derail the conversation, but I like it.
wait, look. I was waiting for the perfect time to insert this, and Suka, I knew you'd say that. It, it's part of the honeymoon. Now, I guess this guy is maybe he's single or something. I don't know. But when I originally read this, I didn't take a good look at it, and I thought it was like a stick, just like a stick of degree or something. This fool put a whole aerosol can, because they say it's a can. It's not it's a steel. It's a can, and you can see right there. That's spray. So he's freshening his bum.
Well, that's a long ass aerosol bottle.
It's
Yeah.
coming out through his stomach.
Yeah, and that looks like almost like what, a 20-liter 20-liter Coke.
This
Ah!
is crazy.
I mean, no, these incidents aren't uncommon. You hear about this stuff all the time. Look, I'm
Look,
friends with a
this,
bunch of doctors and nurses because I used to work at a hospital.
look, this person shoved a shower head. Wait, let's go back to the beginning, because this was the wrong one, because I brought the one of them had just a guy with the aerosol can.
Oh,
no, that's a water
is there
bottle.
a
I'm
right
sorry.
one, Larry?
No.
Is there a right one?
Yes, there is. No, I'm sorry. This is the water. This is a water bottle.
Oh,
The
okay.
other one was a stick of.
Yeah, that does look a bit like a water bottle,
Yeah,
like a straw top.
So yeah, that's a water bottle, right? So he had to tell his wife.
Wait, he's Iranian?
Yeah.
Did they make him get a sex change after that?
I don't know, but I did find an article in the same area of an Iranian dominatrix.
Ew.
She wears the hijab. She wears everything.
Ozzy says that's probably about 64 ounces.
It probably is. I mean, shoot.
It looks like it.
Then this guy got X-rays, a
See, that
metal
would-
weight, a
Yeah.
4-pound metal weight.
That's a
Ew.
barbell. Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a barbell. And then, I mean, what are these?
It's a shake weight.
It probably 6-inch handheld shower head, a screwdriver.
Why?
Was
Why?
he just trying to reach that itch, or he was trying to, I don't know.
400 objects are medically pulled from English anuses each year.
Oh, that's in the UK. It's
okay.
much higher here.
Yeah. I mean, I know the G spot is in the guy's bum, so maybe that's what he was doing with the screwdriver.
No, that screwdriver was way past there. It's like it went through that and out the other side.
I believe with Lou. Yeah, that asteroid is looking better every day to me.
Yeah, oh man. Yeah, Suka says, imagine that job. Look, I have worked in a hospital. I worked in a hospital for years in a surgery department specifically.
Wait. So you've worked at a gas station and you've worked in a hospital.
Yes, Larry, I've had a lot of different jobs.
Okay.
I've worked in a lot of places in many states. So, I mean, I would hear and sometimes occasionally witness things like this. It's a lot more common than you think it is. There are a lot of people who get for lack of a better phrase, a wild hair up their ass to try something like this. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of this stuff I can't like talk directly about because of HIPAA laws, but yeah. There's
violations.
There was one story that I had nothing to do with. I wasn't there. I wasn't even in the healthcare industry at the time. And plus I hate the guy. So,
so it's okay that I talk about him because I hate him.
HIPAA laws don't apply if I wasn't part of that whole.
Yeah, if you don't like him, it doesn't apply.
Yeah. No, not if I don't like him. I don't like him, so I'm going to tell the story.
That's what
I can tell the story because in this case, HIPAA does not apply.
You don't like him though, so why would HIPAA stop you?
Well, he was my sister's ex-husband.
Oh, okay.
Before he was her ex-husband. So it's a little bit of story time here. Mom, if you're listening, turn it off now. So he wanted to, shall we say, he was into the ass play, right? Well, my sister wasn't having that. So she said to him, I will let you do it to me if I do it to you first.
Tell me
Okay.
he
So-
didn't fall for that.
Oh, he did. She she gets a call from him while she's at work, and he's in a panic and he's in a tizzy, and he's just like, oh my god, I need help. And she's like, I'm in the middle of something. I'm at work. What's going on? You know, you got to be specific. And he can't get the words out because he's obviously in panic mode. He's like, I just need you to come home. I need you to come home right now. So she gets home and she finds him in the bathroom with a pair of bloody needle-nosed pliers, because he'd taken one of those little bullet vibrators to kind of like work up to it, and he stuck it in there, but he'd heard a noise, and as he got startled, it got sucked all the way in, and he had cut himself up pretty badly trying to dig it out with those pliers.
Oh.
Needless to say, there was an emergency room trip in his very near future, and my sister could not stop laughing about it.
Of course not.
And the attending nurse could not stop laughing about it. I mean, obviously they took care of him. You know, they got his butt sewed back up, but he was cut pretty bad. And they did get the bullet out of him, but it was, yeah. Anyway,
I mean, he could have just taken a huge bottle of X-Lax, or just drink a lot of Mucinex, or not Mucinex, but fiber
Prune
drink.
juicy.
Yeah.
It would have slid it right on out.
Yeah, easily.
Yep.
It would have come out of him like butter.
Welcome, Carrie. Yes, you did. Yeah, it was a whole thing. Luke Cassidy's got a story here. Many years ago, someone told me a story about a woman who had done it with a sausage. It broke and went bad in her, and the hospital smelled like. You know, I've heard stories about women using food that doesn't come back out. That it causes all kinds of infections and stuff due to the breakdown of the food, the bacteria, and all that stuff. Don't do that, ladies. You can end up with serious complications and like friggin' maggots in your uterus. It's ugly.
Ew. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I never understood why women had to resort to vegetables to, have a fun time with themselves. I think that's just stupid. Versus, what your sister's business is. Like, just go over there and grab something and go to town.
Yeah. See, Ozzy, I think the difference here is that the story I told was an accident. It wasn't supposed to go that way. In prison, that's another story. Yeah, like something with a backstop, unless of course you happen to be, heading to an MRI appointment.
Mm-hmm. And then tons of antibiotics.
Yeah. But yeah, ladies, don't use organic matter for that, because organic matter inherently carries risks that you don't get with like silicates and that kind of thing. Just don't do it. It's bad. It'll end up bad, and you'll end up in a world of hurt. And assuming that everything gets fixed, hospital bills that you'll never pay off.
Yep.
So just don't do it.
Don't do it. And if you try to do it with needle pliers, you're only making it worse.
Oh yeah, I mean, at least you didn't go for the big pliers.
Yeah,
I know. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's not just germs. Like, with a lot of like, agricultural stuff. For instance, I mean, most of our bananas are imported. They don't grow on the continent here, so we have to import them. And obviously, they do their best to regulate things like parasites and bacteria and that sort of thing on them. But no system is perfect. And the last thing you want are some like South American like fly eggs that happen to be in the banana skin to hatch inside you.
Yeah.
That you don't want that. So yes, vice grips would be worse.
Ouch.
Yeah. Could be wood splinters. Jeffrey Dahmer found out about wood splinters up the butt.
That is true.
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, he wasn't asking for it, was he?
Well, he was taunting them. The men who did what they did to him, he was taunting them, and they already had a problem with him because of what he did. He figured they feared him enough they would leave him alone, and he was wrong.
There's always
Yeah,
a bigger
you're in
fish.
prison.
The
Well, they
bigger
did
fish of fear.
Yeah, they did fear him. Is
Yeah.
the thing.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I mean, he was a cannibal. You know, you can't trust you can't trust sleeping next to a cannibal. You just can't. You know, and so they did fear him, but not enough to stay away from him, not enough to leave him alone. And he was taunting them and saying shit like, you know, I eat bitches like you for breakfast and that kind of thing, because, you know, tough talk in prison, and it got him killed. I mean, no skin off my nose, but if I was him, maybe I wouldn't have said those things to men who were in there for horrific crimes as well.
Yeah. It's like most child rapists that go to prison for their crimes, they get killed in prison because there are men in prison who love kids and will do anything to defend them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and a lot of his victims were,
Kids.
yeah,
And gay men.
they were underage men. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them were because he liked pretty things. His words, not mine.
Yep.
Wait, what did he say? He liked the what?
Pretty things.
The hell is that supposed to mean?
It means he liked pretty gay young boys, young men. You know, like he'd go down to the clubs and stuff, and he'd pick up young men and take them back to his house, and then he'd rape them, kill them, rape them again, and then eat parts of them, and store parts of them in his fridge.
Yeah.
Dude was messed up.
Yeah, didn't he like dark meat, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, no, he's like, oh my God, he went there. But yes, that is a fact. He did prefer blacks. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember something like that. Like I guess. Well, I'm not gonna say he did it right, but I guess if you're insane, then you can say he did it right. Because if I remember the butt cheeks that he had in the freezer were from his uh from his black victims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think he had even stated at one point that he preferred black men because he thought they were pretty. Like their skin was pretty. Which I guess, I mean, he kept some of it, so he must have been telling the truth, right?
Maybe he was gonna make a suit.
Maybe he was gonna make a rump roast.
Yep. I mean, I'm not laughing at the victims, but I think that's exactly what he had in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell a terrible joke here, and YouTube, remember, this is just a joke. What did and this also will only be funny to those of us who remember, but yeah, what did Jeffrey Dahmer say to Lorena Bobbitt?
What?
Are you going to eat that?
Wow.
That's terrible. Oh my God.
I've been telling that joke since I was a kid.
You know what we used to say when it first happened? We used to say, what was Lorena Bobbitt's favorite soda? And we'd say Slice.
Clue's saying cancel Sam.
Hey Nomi, have you seen I know it's been out for a while, but have you seen Cocaine Bear?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's awesome.
Well, there's a sequel, but it ain't.
I have heard this before.
A little
they
context.
got high and then started dive bombing people.
A little context. So, a while back, when we first started this show, we mostly focused on like horror movies, and then Cocaine Bear was coming out, and I was super excited about that. Kept telling everybody about it. I went to see it, and I don't care what anybody says. I fucking loved that movie. It was so much fun.
You were high when you watched it.
Anyway, ever since I came back and I talked about watching Cocaine Bear, and I think Larry, you went to see it too, didn't you?
No, I still haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't.
Well, you should watch it because it's awesome. But that aside, ever since then, Larry has gone out of his way to find articles relating to animals and illicit narcotics.
Yep, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, I think seagulls are always on some type of drug.
Yeah.
Because they're all psycho. The first time I ever visited California to visit family over there, I remember going to the beach, and those gulls are brave as hell because they will come at you if you have food in your hand. No fear, just try to swoop at you, and that they're psycho. They'll try to
Mhm.
take whatever you have, and they'll attack you.
JV, I disagree. I think the best thing about Cocaine Bear was the bear eating a bunch of people. But I see your point. I loves me a good Animal Gone Wild movie. So that reminds me, my sister, same sister who had the ex-husband with the anal adventures. She gave me for my birthday a couple years ago this Australian movie called Boar that I haven't watched yet, and I really need to get around to doing that. She's probably pretty pissed at me about that.
Sounds like a good movie.
Yeah, it's like Jaws in the Outback if the shark was a giant razorback pig.
Sounds like Texas.
Yeah,
Someone said that Australia is just the Texan version of Britain, and I believe that because Australia is tough as hell, and they have strange animals that want to kill them. They're tough because they know how to live in dangerous environments, and Texas knows how to live in dangerous environments. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, Australians do have a lot in common with Texans, but there's one major difference. So obviously, Australia started as a penal colony. We discussed this recently on the
Yes.
channel, Botany Bay, that sort of thing. They sent their hardest and toughest and meanest and nastiest convicts there to die because Australia, as we all know, is a continent full of things that want you dead.
Yep.
No context. They just want you dead. I mean, even the fucking plants down there, some of them, you know.
Oh yeah.
And one of the deadliest snakes in the world comes from there, and it's the same color as the sand.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, Australia is a rough place. Now, these people, instead of dying out like the British intended, they thrived. They conquered, and they survived. They built a civilization and a whole new nation there, and good on them. To use one of their phrases. I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment, especially since they were never expected to last that long.
Which is
So
another big middle finger to the UK.
it absolutely is. However, these are, being some of the toughest sons of bitches on earth, descended from some of the toughest sons of bitches on earth, right? And they still lost a shooting war against giant flightless birds.
Yeah, the Great Emu
Sure as heck
War.
did.
Yeah,
The Texans never lost that war.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. But we always remember the Alamo.
Yep. Oh man. So, and I have been going out of my way to make fun of Australians for like 2 weeks now, and I don't really have a good reason for it. I just think the Great Emu War is hilarious. And also Vegemite is a crime against humanity.
I've never had Vegemite, but I've heard stories. I have a good friend that lives here in town. She's from Australia, and she's like, "Yeah, that was like my snack after my home from school snack." Like that sounds disgusting.
Lou, that's because the emus broke them.
Yeah.
As long as I'm still giving Australia shit. And I will.
The fact that Britain had to send their meanest, toughest, vilest convicts to a continent and still lost to flightless birds. Yeah.
They lost to rabbits too at one point.
Really?
Yeah, it's
What?
I haven't heard that one.
It's a whole thing. Like, so they introduced they had a pest problem, and they introduced a thing to control the pests, and then it's like that story you hear about like the guy who has a mouse in his house, so he brings a cat in, but then the cat fucks stuff up, so he brings something bigger in to take care of the cat, and then something bigger in to take care of the dog and all that. And that's more or less what happened with the rabbits. Whereas with the emus, there were guns involved, and they still lost. Yeah. So that shit is never ever getting old. And if you are from Australia and you are my friend, I will make fun of you until the day I die. I mean, there's plenty of shit to mock Americans about. There's a lot of shit to mock Wyomingites about. There's tons of stuff out there.
Wyoming didn't lose to a bunch of birds.
No, we did not. Yeah. And look at that bird. Doesn't that bird look like the hardest motherfucker ever to walk the earth?
He's like the Mr. T of emus.
Yeah. He's got that stare in his eyes. He's like, try it. I fucking dare you.
He's got a mohawk too.
Yeah.
Try to shoot me again. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
He almost reminds me of Shadowhawk when he goes into his Edge Lord persona.
You know what?
Wait a minute, these fools had machine guns and they lost.
That's what I'm telling you. They were armed to the freaking teeth, and the birds won.
It sounds like a joke, but the Great Emu War of Western Australia was real. Soldiers with machine guns were deployed to fight off the flightless birds. What did the emos do to deserve armed combat? Western Australian farmers have been facing hard times with their crops following the Great Depression, and the difficulties increased tenfold with the arrival of some 20,000 emus migrating inland during their breeding season. Yeah, that's strike one. The birds had been protected as a native species until 1922, but now they were classified as vermin. All bets were off. Well, yeah, the farmers relayed their concerns to the government, which called upon a deputation of ex-soldiers, many now farmers, from the First World War, who requested the use of machine guns to fight off the emus. Yeah, that didn't go well. Look at that.
You know, and this was what, 1932.
Yeah.
So I think this right here is why they fought so hard in World War II.
To get beat up by some emus?
No, because the World War II, Australia joined World War II after the Great Emu War was lost. And I think that they joined World War II and they fought so hard on the side of the Allies in World War II because they had to reclaim some measure of dignity.
Yeah, guys, we have to really
And by the way, that's YouTube. That's just a joke. I am in no way mocking the veterans of World War II.
Yeah.
You know,
Not mocking them
from any nation. I just, you know, I am mocking the veterans of the Great Emu War. However,
well, apparently, let's see. The battle began in early November 1932 when the soldiers encountered a lock of about 50 emus and succeeded in killing several before the birds scattered. A few days later, however, a second encounter with about 1,000 birds turned into a clear victory for the emus when the machine gun jammed.
Oh no.
Which means no proper maintenance was done on that thing afterwards. The Australian media quickly came to see the enormous birds as foes too crafty for mere human soldiers. Even a newsreel from the era prematurely announcing a human victory describes the tall, long-necked birds as an advancing army with keen eyesight, the enemy watching even through their periscopes raised up over their heads of corn. Wow.
I think there was an episode of because Joker Voice is bringing up Disneyland has a rat problem and they brought in raccoons to kill the rat. You know, that kind of thing. There was an episode, I think, of Faulty Towers years ago where they had a mouse problem and they brought in a cat and then that didn't work out and they brought in a snake to get the cat. And then eventually they brought in an American eagle to kill the snake. But what it did instead was eat poisoned corn and drop dead, which was a clear knock on my country, but it was funny.
Well, yeah, there's gonna be a film about the Emu War as of 2 years ago.
Oh, now that's something I would love to see and go to theater to see that.
Yeah, they should do it. Like, did you guys ever see that movie Australia with like Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
Okay, so Nomi, you know what I'm talking about. It's like this 3-hour epic. It's actually really good, but it's a little long. But they should do like a docudrama of the Great Emu War in the style of that movie Australia.
Dude, that would be legit.
I guarantee it would sell tickets.
Oh, for sure. And get people into theaters.
I would go see that probably 3 or 4 times. Basil the Rat, was that the episode? Yeah. Ozzy watches a lot of British television, so I figured he'd probably get the reference. I didn't watch Faulty Towers consistently, but I did watch that episode. It was pretty funny. Even the thing about the eagle dropping dead, that was clearly a knock on the United States, but it was still actually very funny.
Yeah. And what Joker said about the feral cats at Disney, yeah, that's a real thing. The cats wouldn't come out until all the guests were out. I don't know how, but they knew when to come out when people were leaving or they're gone.
Mhm.
Because whenever I was there as my Disney college program, when we're cleaning up at the end, yeah, cats were everywhere and catching whatever vermin they can catch at the park. It was cool. And then I saw a couple of pythons eating frogs, eating rats. I was scary, but it was interesting to see because Florida's interesting.
Florida's an interesting place.
Mm-hmm. They have
There's-
gators. I
I
mean, so
actually-
does Texas, but I'm on the opposite side of Texas.
Yeah, well, I mean, gators are all throughout the deep South. It's like little known fact. They're in Georgia, they're in Louisiana, they're in, Alabama, I think even. Yeah, you get them in the southern parts of Mississippi.
Mhm.
And that kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot of wetlands down there, and so you get a lot of those things. I saw somebody the other day saying, "Oh, well, there's only gators here. There's no crocodiles." I was like, "Yes, there is. The only place in the world that crocodiles and alligators coexist is in Florida.
Mhm.
No other place in the world do they share waters. But it is also the only place in the United States you can find crocodiles in the lower 48. Like you can find them, I think, in certain parts of Central America. But again, that's outside of the United States. So, but yeah, they're pretty rare on this continent. But yeah, there's some strange stuff down there. Now they got Titanoboa.
Yep.
Because of all the crossbreeding that what was it? I think the not rock pythons,
Boa pythons.
ball pythons and the rosy boas that got released all into the swamp and all that because they got too big to keep as pets. Anyway, they've been interbreeding and creating these super snakes, and now it's big money to go down through the swamps in Florida to kill the super snakes. I actually watched a show on Netflix last week called Florida Man, which was surprisingly pretty good. But one of the characters, all he wants to do is go hunt snakes in the forest in his new crocodile boots, and eventually he gets his new crocodile boots and he dies fighting a giant snake.
Yeah, there is real money in either alligator, crocodile, or snake skin. I was a beer cart girl at a golf course, and there was a man that came from Juarez, and he would talk to the groundskeeper manager asking like, hey, if we can collect rattlesnakes for him, he will pay us for that. And I asked him like, well, what's the compensation pay if I find rattlesnakes? Because I found rattlesnakes left and right when I was on the course.
Mhm.
He's like, well, it's $600 a snake. After he told me that, never have I ever tried so hard in my life to try to capture a rattlesnake so I can give it to him alive, because he wanted them alive. So what he does is he skins them and he makes them into boots. So like, okay, because he makes good money off of like real skin boots.
Yeah,
So
I'd be willing to bet he probably sells the venom sacs to hospitals too.
I think since he's in Mexico, I think so too. Because United States is messed up because big pharma, they'll do whatever that doesn't cure anything. But Mexico, they'll do that because they actually invest in things of healing things of the opposite.
Right, but also in the United States, hospitals keep local snake venom on tap in order to make anti-venom just in case somebody gets bit. I mean, that is the thing here too. And so he probably could, like if he were in, say, Dallas or whatever, catching rattlesnakes there, you could probably sell those glands to the hospitals because they do need local venom. There's usually not enough of it on hand, kind of thing, because it takes like 6 ounces of venom to make like half an ounce of anti-venom. You actually need a lot of venom to do that. That's also why they recommend that if you get bit by a snake, capture it alive if you can and bring it to the hospital with you, because it's better that you have the snake, that the venom that you were injected with, than just like standard stock anti-venom, because like most things in nature, the venom is really unique to each snake. It's got its own DNA imprinted to it, so it's better to make a cure from that snake's venom, and it's easier to do that while they're alive.
That makes sense.
But
Yeah.
most people's reaction when they get bit by a snake is either to run away or kill it immediately.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, it's you can make a fair amount of money doing that. Also, the boots thing, I imagine the meat's usually pretty good. It's a bitch to debone though.
Yeah, I've heard.
Well, they're all ribs,
Yeah.
tiny little ribs, but unlike fish ribs, they're not cartilage. They don't break easy. They're bone.
Okay.
So
if you bite into it, you'll know.
If you bite into it, you're gonna break a tooth.
Ooh, okay.
It's bone, like your bones, just smaller. Bird bones, for example, are hollow. Snake bones are not.
Okay, so they're dense like ours.
Yes. And and they kind of have to be because they're basically surrounded by a sheath of solid muscle that is, constantly moving and contracting and all that. If they weren't solid like ours, they'd be breaking their own ribs all the time, just moving around.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So you bite them back. Okay. It doesn't stop you from being.
Test that assumption and take note of the results after.
Yeah.
I want to know what happens.
Ozzy, that depends on the species, but yes, in general, that's about accurate. It also depends on where you get bit, how far from your heart it is, how it's pretty hard to stay calm.
Oh yeah.
When you have venom pumping through your veins, but it is imperative that you do so because it will slow your heart rate and it will take the venom longer to get to your the inner workings of your circulatory system, if at all possible.
Mm-hmm.
There are some snakes, and Lawrence has brought this up before. Like the Mojave green rattlesnake actually has a venom that has two different actions that it does instead of just being a neurotoxin like most pit vipers. It also has a necrotic kind of action where it just sort of starts like killing the flesh cells. So it's kind of like being bit by a fiddleback, but bigger.
Yeah.
At the same time as the neurotoxin, which what that does is it. One of them's I think there's an anticoagulant element too, which prevents you from clotting up, so that which can prevent the venom from getting to your heart, kind of thing. But the neurotoxin really messes you up too. And obviously, it fucks with your central nervous system.
Yeah, it can kill you. No big deal. It's common.
Oh, it's common.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing about rattlesnakes in general. They're not going to go anywhere near where people are. And if they find themselves near people, they will warn them and do everything they can to get out of the way. Only way you're getting bit generally is if you step on the damn thing or you corner it and give it no choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, like any other animal, it is capable of being pissed off too. And they will strike out when they're pissed off as well. So don't fuck with them. But yeah, if they have a way out, they're going to take that way out.
Yeah.
There are other types of snakes that are much more aggressive, like the boomslang, which is I think Central or South American, and it's also a very, very deadly snake. You got about 8 minutes to live if that one bites you.
Yeah.
And it makes you bleed out of your eye holes. It's awful.
Ooh.
And they're aggressive. Like unusually aggressive,
again versus the opposite of the rattlesnake. If they're aggressive, like, yeah, I don't like this person, I'm going to go and bite that person.
Like we'll bite something for no reason.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Whereas, like your cottonmouths, also very aggressive, and those are here in the States, but like coral snakes, which are one of the deadlier snakes in the world, they're fairly closely related to cobras and asps and that sort of thing, which are found in like the southern states like Florida and whatnot, are usually they're very quiet, but they're very bright, and their brightness is the warning. But they again are not super aggressive. Most of the time they'll try to just stay out of your way or be away or that kind of thing. Most forms of rattlesnakes are not very aggressive at all. The more aggressive snakes that we have in the continental United States typically aren't venomous, with the exception of the cottonmouth. Even copperheads aren't particularly aggressive towards people. Most snakes will only attack something out of self-defense or if they think they can eat it, and we're generally too big for them. So, you
That
know.
snake that Samuel cooked on his car didn't get a chance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you this. I know,
Eh,
Nomi. I remember you was telling us a story about a UFO that you saw in your backyard when you grew up on a farm, right?
I did.
A few weeks ago, there was an article about footage popping up of a UFO. There was a UFO sighting over a California military base.
Oh, I don't know about California, but I know there was one in Roswell that recently popped up.
Yeah, there was Roswell, and then 29 Palms, which is I was stationed at Fort Irwin when I came back to California from South Korea, so I know that area. Um, I will say that I don't know what it was driving through that area on that way back to base on the day after Thanksgiving, and whatever I saw leaning over the side of that truck definitely looked like a UFO. It looked like something. I don't know. I was just like, I'm not even gonna look for details as to what they're hauling, but I just kind of left it. But yeah,
Yeah, there's some sightings. The one in Roswell, it looked like a ship. It looked like a oval shaped type of shiny thing floating in the air, and it wasn't just like one person. Um, yeah, that if that's
like that.
yours.
Is that
I,
it?
no, the one in Roswell was broad daylight, and it wasn't just one person that can easily do edit on it and make it look like it's a real thing. There were several people who took video of that oval shaped ship in the air in
Let's
broad daylight.
see what this one's saying.
It's moving.
Take
What you
me
got?
to your leader. Oh hell no. Yo, we got aliens out here, dog.
My phone camera says
Yo, it's weird.
we got UFOs outside.
Yo, hey, everyone's out here.
These are U.S. Marines. They're among their buddies. They're the toughest guys in the world, and it's kind of, sort of, you can sense a little bravado there. It's aliens, and I'm not afraid of it, kind of implied thing. But obviously they can see that something unusual is underway.
Who was it? There was a podcast I was listening to. It was Joe Rogan's podcast. I can't remember who it was, but he was a Marine, and he shared that for sure that him and other Marines would do those type of jokes to people who are either camping or having a night out, just in nature, and like, hey, let's go ahead and let's let them think what they think it is. They did it for funds.
I think Rogan also had a guy on who's a retired Air Force who's basically been, laughed out of serious circles because he's maintained to this day that he's seen shit that, and that he was told to shut up by the government, by the Air Force.
Oh yeah, I think I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's very famous at this point, but yeah, I wouldn't. The thing that would surprise me about there being like UFOs here is the improbability of it. I'm not saying it's impossible. I actually do believe that there is life on other worlds, but given the distances between worlds and the relativistic effects of they'd have to travel faster at or faster than light in order to traverse in any reasonable time between star systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's conceivable that something may have shown up here and dropped by for a visit, but I mean, what a tremendous waste of resources for a visit.
Yeah.
And time for that matter. So I find it improbable, but not impossible. Just if I were the aliens, I'm looking at it from that perspective. If I were the aliens, that is a huge amount of effort and energy to invest in something to not make yourself known.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I believe that guy too. So what you're saying, like,
Mhm.
No. If
Yeah,
you-
I'm sure he saw something, and like I've made mention of before too. It was like I'm a pagan. I believe in a lot of different things, and I don't necessarily think that everything that we experience has necessarily a scientific explanation. Maybe an explanation that some people don't want to hear, but there are explanations for things. But um, I don't think this is the only world, and I don't think
Oh,
that
yeah.
it's the only world even that we are adjacent to.
Mhm.
In terms of in a metaphysical, like multiversal sense. So and the fact of the matter is, I mean, if you go back through history, look at all of the very consistent reports from people who claim to have been abducted by UFOs through the last century, right?
Mhm.
The consistent ones, the ones that line up from people who have no connection to each other all across the world. I mean, they always mention certain specific things. They mention like floating lights. They mention being paralyzed. They mention beings of certain, short stature, big eyes, big head,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Um, thing is you can go further back in history and find accounts like that all through the Dark Ages too, like
Yeah.
all the way back. But they didn't call them aliens; they called them fairy folk.
Yes. I do recall that.
And but the accounts, if you leave out the term alien, you leave out the term fairy folk, the accounts are nearly identical, even going that far back. So clearly, we're interacting with something.
Mhm. And that it looks. Aren't there the reports saying that these fairy folk or aliens, they look like owls? Because I know
Yeah.
people who've been abducted or
Mhm.
said they've been abducted or had an encounter. They all say they look like owls.
Right. And if you follow Alex Jones at all, he talks about the blue machine elves and DMT trips and that sort of thing. And there are some correlations to that, to the descriptions of these quote unquote blue machine elves that people who have used DMT use, that do kind of correlate with some of the abduction stories. And they
Oh,
all describe the same kind of beings. And these are people who've never had any contact with each other. And in a lot of cases are actually illiterate, so they wouldn't have read about it. You
oh,
know,
yeah.
especially if you're going back all the way back to say the Dark Ages and stuff. I mean, you're talking about people who, monks generally who wrote down accounts from peasants who wouldn't have known about any of these other cases.
Mhm.
Not directly.
That don't have the education how to really
Mhm.
describe it, but what they know how to describe said thing.
Yeah. Carrie, Charles Halt, was that his name? No, I wasn't saying that he was forced out of service. I'm saying he was laughed out of like serious communities.
Like
Like,
sharing his stories and what he
yeah,
knows, and people
you know,
mocked him, like made fun
uh,
of him.
scientists. I think he was, fellow servicemen and that sort of thing were saying that no, he's crazy and all this stuff, and he maintained the whole time that he wasn't crazy. I'm not saying that he was dishonorably discharged or anything like that, or forced out. Yeah, Suka also, you know,
Demons. Yeah.
yeah. During certain periods of history, yeah, you could be seen that way. So yeah, a lot of these instances, it's possible. It's possible. I do think that we're probably witnessing, or these are probably stories of people who have witnessed something extraordinary. I just don't necessarily buy that they were from Cygnus B.
Hmm.
So, and I'm not saying that there isn't anything out at Cygnus B. I don't know. I've never been there. Possibly there is. It's a big universe. There is a lot of shit in it that we do not know about. I'd wager that the odds of there being other civilizations, at least on par with our own, are probably pretty high, given the number of worlds out there. But in terms of like interstellar travel, I think they'd have to be so fucking far past us in advancement,
Yeah.
and even then you're still talking about enormous amounts of time and resources. And
And not only that, our minds probably can't even comprehend of what we'll discover.
yeah, that's always a possibility too. As you know, I am you could call me a fan of the writings of H.P. Lovecraft, and one of the central themes to a lot of his stuff are these beings that he refers to as like outer gods or elder gods, and it's not clear if they're actually gods, but just that they're a form of existence that is so far beyond the four dimensions that we move in.
Hmm.
that we simply cannot comprehend what they are, which is where the madness comes in, like witnessing something like this, is because it breaks your mind, because, you know, we obviously can't perceive things on that scale.
Well, and that, if you find like that knowledge and it makes sense to you, and you try to share it to others, people are gonna treat you like you're crazy.
Right.
Because if someone comes up to me and tells me all these other dimensions and like what he knows and what he discovered, cool. You're coming to me a little too hard on that, and it is scaring me that what you're telling me sounds far-fetched. But
Yeah.
I kind of do believe a little bit, but you need to break it down a little bit to me. But if you go to a random person who doesn't believe a life outside of ours, yeah, people are going to write you off. People are going to mock you.
Well, and I know this gets quoted a lot, especially in relation to these topics here. But the science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke is famous for saying, two possibilities exist: either we are alone in the universe or we are not. Both possibilities are equally terrifying.
That is terribly terrifying.
I mean, because what if we are? What if we are alone? What if we're it? Like, then what is all this fucking space for? You know, like, I think that casts a new light on our significance and or insignificance. And what if we're not?
Yeah.
You know, what if we're not? What if we're not as if the universe isn't as human centric as we like to think it is? What if we're far more insignificant than we like to give ourselves credits for being? You know, I think there are probably degrees in between those two things, but yeah, I think he's right. Either we are alone or we're not. There are only two possibilities.
Yeah, and then if we're not alone, those who are outside of our galaxy, who have far superior knowledge, advanced technology, or just advances who they are, we're still like what, light years behind them. That is
Literal
terrifying.
light years.
Yeah.
You know, literal light years. I mean, you know,
Can you imagine what kind of video games they're playing?
No, I couldn't. I mean, the idea. So, like, we watch a lot of science fiction. You know, science fiction tends to put things in an anthropomorphic kind of light. So, like, you know, you look at Star Trek, and most of the time they look like people with extra bits on their foreheads, right? The odds of that kind of specific parallel evolution on multiple worlds are pretty slim. I would wager that if we encountered something truly alien, we wouldn't necessarily recognize it at all. You know, and the odds are they wouldn't recognize us. I mean, that's the definition of alien, is other, foreign. You know, and not just foreign as in not from this earth, but foreign from our limited view and perception.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
It's
that makes
not
sense.
of it. It's not of our planet. It's not of our species or being. So it can be a myriad of things.
As long as there's nothing like Pennywise out there, I'm cool.
You know that Pennywise is a direct ripoff of Lovecraft, right?
I don't care.
He is.
Lovecraft, hatecraft, witchcraft, I don't care. Art craft, it doesn't have to be any of them.
Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Ooh.
Which is exactly what I'm eating.
Oh.
You know, have you, as you've gotten older, like you still able to digest the cheese powder? Okay, because I have issues with it. It kicks the shit out of me. Literally.
Nomi, you can have that. Give it to Nomi, she'll eat it.
Yeah, I haven't had mac and cheese in a long time, like the Mac Kraft one, but when I get that craving, I can't stop. Like, it'll hit me hard, and I don't have any issues with it.
My family wouldn't let me in. My wife wouldn't let me in the kitchen for a couple of years. I almost blew up the kitchen heating up macaroni and cheese. It wasn't my fault. The package said a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So I put it in there for a minute and a half.
Yeah, Suka, it's not a lactose intolerance. The powder substance that you get with macaroni, with Kraft specifically, macaroni and cheese isn't really cheese. It's cheese product. It's not. It's like synthetic. You know, I mean, the milk that I mix it with to make it seem cheesy. I don't have problems with milk. I have a problem with that powder, whatever that is. As I've gotten older, it's caused certain unpleasant reactions, which sucks because it's tasty as hell. But yeah.
Yeah, it's all the preservatives that are in there and the chemicals that make it tasty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd rather make real mac and cheese with real cheddar,
Mm-hmm.
milk, pasta I can grab from the store. It's not hard to make.
You never make pasta from scratch?
No, I haven't, but I know it's a process. But
Yeah, it's a day-long thing, but it's usually pretty worth it.
I've heard that. I've seen reels on Instagram how people make it look easy and basic ingredients, which it does look simple to make. So I'll challenge myself one of these days.
Yeah, I mean, and there's so many different ways you can do it too. My personal fit, like I like penne noodles and I like egg noodles and obviously I like elbow noodles. But those would be among my favorites. One of the noodles that I like probably the best though, which is weird because I don't actually like a lot of Japanese food, is yakisoba.
Yeah, those are good noodles.
The rice noodles, they're delicious.
Yeah, I'm just a fan of nudes. I've been.
You're a fan of nudes?
Nudes, yeah, NOODS.
I was just making sure I heard you right.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
I guess it's just a millennial thing. Yeah, nudes.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
NOODS.
What is it with that whole generation shortening words that don't need shortening?
Why say much word when short word can do trick?
That's sus.
Yeah. I'm glad that you understand it, but I had to explain it to you. But it just shortens the conversation. But I've recently discovered Korean glass noodles, which are made out of yams, I believe. Those are tasty.
Yeah, nice. I've had Korean noodles, but I don't think I've had those specific ones. One of my brothers, his mother gets some chaja imported.
Okay.
Which is like ramen, but with actual nutrients.
Oh.
And it's really tasty, but it smells like kimchi.
Ooh.
It's not kimchi. It smells bad though. But yeah, it's filled. The whole room is filled with the stench of the stuff. But
So
it's
it smells
actually
like fermented?
Yeah, but if you can get past that, it's actually really good. Whereas
Okay.
kimchi, I fucking hate kimchi. So
Really?
much.
Kimchi's delicious.
Do you know what
You
fermented
can
means?
you can
Yeah.
have it.
It means rotten.
Yeah. And that's the best thing you can have for your stomach.
Kimchi is to Koreans what sauerkraut is to Germans. And by the way, Germans, fuck you for that too.
Maybe that's the reason why you have these problems with mac and cheese is because your gut's not fixed and you have to eat these fermented things to reset your gut to process whatever you're eating.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still not eating it.
It's
And
delicious.
remember, I lived in Korea for a year.
Yeah.
I smelled what made kimchi.
JB, it's not just cabbage.
No,
Yeah.
It's
it's not just
seaweed
cabbage.
too.
Yeah, it's
Seaweed,
delicious.
pickles. I mean, there's different kinds of it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys both of you guys don't like seaweed?
No.
Larry?
When I see weed, I don't touch it. I don't smoke it off.
I love seaweed.
Let me put it this way.
I like seaweed. I'll eat it. That's fine.
I'm gonna put it in Crocodile Dundee's words, and yes, I am aware that this quote dates me. You can live on it, but it tastes like shit.
Yeah. I'll be right back. Hold on, guys.
Okay.
Ozzy, we have had this discussion. No, and fuck no.
What's he talking about?
He's talking about that. You remember? It was probably about 4 months ago. He brought up what I think it's surströmming. It's a Swedish fermented cod or something like that. It's really.
Oh.
It's yeah. It's like what happens when you let fish become paste, I guess, on its own.
Yeah, I'm not eating that.
Yeah. I Carrie, there's some sushi that I like. Sashimi, I think, is what you're thinking of, right? The uncooked stuff. Because some sushi
No,
is cooked.
Yeah, well, I guess.
No, it is. Sushi is kind of a blanket term for a lot of different things, whereas sashimi is specifically like the raw fish. So, but yeah, I agree. I don't like the raw stuff. What is that?
I have
Sea
seaweed.
snacks.
Seaweed.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh
Why
no,
does
you know
that
what?
look like a
Hey,
diaper
Naomi,
package?
you know what? I do eat. Do you eat it with rice? You know, wrap it up like a rice ball.
I don't have rice, but yes.
Yeah,
I
I
threw
no,
up in my
I
mouth a
do
little.
eat that. I do eat that. It's
Yeah.
good stuff.
It's good. It has a lot of
It's very
nutrients in
good
it.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has iodine that you need to have in your life. So I love seaweed.
No. Oh,
Sam, you should
okay.
try it. It's good.
So Ozzy was. It looks like Ozzy was asking Nomi about this.
Is that the fish?
It's a fish, sort of. It used to be a fish.
No, I've never had it.
It's like what happens when you let a fish sit there and ferment.
I know that much. I know when you open it, it reeks the place. See, I can handle kimchi and seaweed, but that fish, I don't want to test that
Yeah.
at all because I know I will start gagging.
Let me see. Was it is it surstrumming or stir? I don't remember. I think it's surstrumming, isn't it?
Oh, and then Sam, if you have a chance,
nope,
because I know you
sure.
don't like seaweed, but there's teriyaki flavored seaweed. And that one's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not really a teriyaki guy. I mean, it's okay. It's just not my favorite.
Fair.
No, it's got a little bit too much tang to it. I like it a little sweeter than that.
I think you just need to add more bourbon to it.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's see. It's fermented herring is distinct from fried or pickled herring, obviously. Yeah, it's from Swedish. Okay, this is just telling me about the fish itself, like the living fish. I don't want to hear about that. I want to see about how it's produced. Okay, so during the production of surströmming, just enough salt is used to prevent the raw herring from rotting while allowing it to ferment, which is a contradiction in terms, if you ask me. A fermentation process of at least 6 months
Ew.
gives the fish that characteristic strong smell and somewhat acidic taste. A newly opened can of surströmming has one of the most putrid food smells in the world, even stronger than similarly fermented dishes such as the Korean hongeohoi or Japanese kusaya. And then it asked me if I would like to find out more information about surströmming. I would not. I'm going to close this window before I throw up.
Now, what's the country of origin of surströmming?
Sweden, I think.
It sounds European.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know how Andre feels about Swedes too. So yeah, he's pretty down on the Swedish. Yeah. Ugh. I am gonna blame Canada.
It's a maple leaf state.
Did
Canada,
you
Canada, it's great.
Did you ever see the South Park movie, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut?
No, I need to watch it.
There's a whole song and dance number in there called "Blame Canada." It's hilarious.
Oh, I bet. I know like South Park has a huge thing against Canadians, or they have Canadian characters.
Yeah, and they all have like the tops of their heads come off, and it's
and they're like eggheads. Like, hey, don't call me buddy, pal. Don't call me pal, buddy. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. Don't call me buddy, guy. I'm not your guy, friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't call me friend, pal. Yeah, and it just goes around in circles.
They did a really good job of insulting Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
I mean, to be fair, they're pretty easy targets.
They are.
And they make it easy. Like, it'd be different if they were, if they kept to themselves and they didn't make such a damn spectacle out of everything that they do and then scream, "Oh, leave us alone, leave us alone."
We just want privacy.
Yeah, but they don't do that. And I don't think Harry's totally into that kind of shit either, but I think that, his wife's got his nuts in a vice, so.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you get when you married an incestual feminist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it'll be too much of an expensive divorce.
You know what kills me? So you remember all that shit where she was saying that the royal family hated her because she wasn't white?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think she's half white, but
she is.
she is.
But-
Her mom is black and her dad's white.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh well, yeah, the royal family's racist. And I was like, I mean, honestly, I could see there being something to that. However, it never enters her mind the possibility that maybe they just don't like her
Yeah.
Mhm.
because she's insufferable.
Mhm.
I was like, it couldn't just be because you're a bitch.
It's not because your mom's black. It's because you're a bitch.
Yeah. And that's something that I've run into time and again, and I'm sure you guys do too. Like you run into people and they're just like, oh, well, you just said that because you hate such and such group of people. I was like, no, I said that because you, specifically you, sir, you're an asshole.
Mhm.
You
We wouldn't be talking about this, but you brought it up, so you're the one who has the issue.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, I guess we're back to talking about shoving things up asses. But yeah, that's probably accurate. I mean, if I were a betting man, I guess I would say that Harry's probably been prolapsed pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's
Yeah.
whipped for sure.
He's got that cauliflower O-ring.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the visual.
Yeah.
I'm just paying you back for that series of X-rays earlier.
Hey, you know what? Let me look up some more.
Jesus, here we go.
That water bottle, man. And some guy has shoved a stick of so it was a stick of deodorant up there. I don't understand what I don't know what's got into these people.
I mean, that's not even the right shape.
Yeah.
It's like oblong.
And the
Yeah.
fact that he put it upside down first, like the bottle went in like that up his butt.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
So
Like you think you would work it in with the narrow end first, right?
Yeah, see, that's pretty wide.
Yeah. And rigidity.
Like,
And and in order to keep it like that, it had to be full of water. Because
That's true.
otherwise it would just crunch down.
yeah.
I mean, I've seen
so-
some stuff involving like 2-liter Coke bottles and women, but they never go in wide end first. Just saying.
Well, that's what we're talking about. It's like, how did the guy survive putting it wide in first? He obviously he probably has already had the experience. He's like, you know what? It's already been gaping pretty big. Might as well just go for it in the bottom end of the bottle.
Yeah. Do you think when Harry and Meghan are riding on horseback, he sits on the pommel? Just sort of like a Lego figure, just plugs in.
He snaps on it, getting secured on it.
Get that safety lock on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. JB's heading out, and he's claiming he's got this other stuff going on, but I think it's just because he doesn't want to hear about Prince Harry's butthole anymore. Yeah, go check him out. He does some fun stuff. Him and I guess Mags. Yeah, they're going to be on Wookie Be Bad's channel.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Max.
Very cool.
I'd
Well,
still
have a
like
good
to
night,
get her
JB.
on.
Do I blame him? No, Carrie, I don't blame him. I kind of blame you a little. So, good night, JB. Thanks for hanging. Oh, man. I don't even know where to go from here.
Well, let's see. We can ask Naomi. We can ask Naomi about her video. Guys, if you haven't checked out Naomi's video, if you haven't checked out her channel, go over there, click on the Nomitron 5000, which is what I call her video.
Did you call me Nomitron?
I call it the Nomitron 5000.
I love that. Thank you, Larry.
Well, no. See, I call it when you click on the video, I call the player itself the Nomitron 5000. What I call you is Nomi-chan, like Japanese Nomi-chan.
Yeah.
Like the term of endearment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, thanks, Larry. But yeah,
You're welcome.
thanks for the plug. I didn't have time, and I have to break this bad habit of like, yeah, I'm gonna post it, and I never do. But I have completed
Oh,
my
we
video.
know.
Yeah.
Hey, give it. Look. I'm not gonna give her a hard time. After all, we do work for a certain feline that comes on when she feels like it.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
true.
but I did complete my video, and I'll post it on Monday.
Yay!
Nice, good deal.
And I have written down goals for the week that I need to do because I'm gonna start doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos.
I like that.
Yeah, so you'll see more of me.
Yep. And I haven't forgotten about my channel. I am still working on it. I had of course, you guys know why I had it. For those of you that don't know, I was almost not on tonight. I had a death in the family. Um, but so it just kind of set me back a few days for what I wanted to do. But I'm getting my channel together and just putting everything on. And I already know what I'm gonna play first. So willing to bet those aliens are out there playing Diablo as well. But it won't be the only one I'll be playing.
I don't think they're playing Diablo anymore. I think they're playing God.
I thought you were gonna say like Metal Gear Solid or something,
Yeah.
or Star
mean,
Trek.
I'll be honest, the playing God sounds like more fun.
Yeah. And they like to
Humans,
mess with us
we
because
made
they're
you.
actually here on Earth. So it's a live play.
Yeah.
Humans, we made you. Give us pizza and beer.
Here's pineapple pizza.
They
And
can have
here's
it.
Bud Light. The best that we can offer you.
The best a man can get.
Yes.
The best a man can get.
I mean, that's razors, but yeah, same shit, different day.
Well, they can eat that too.
No, if any species were to make it to us across the vast gulfs of space, they wouldn't be buzzing sheep and scaring lonely farmers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They'd make themselves known, and they probably wouldn't be necessarily all that friendly. Like there's a school of thought out there that says that any form of life that's intelligent to create sufficient time or space travel technology to reach us would have to be benign. I say that's bullshit. Look at how technologically advanced we've become just in the last 100 years.
Mhm.
I'd say it's entirely possible for them to create advanced technology that far outstrips their, for lack of a better word, humanity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember like growing up as a kid, a lot of my parents gave me the fear, like, yeah, the mark of the beast is going to happen. It's going to be something that's in your skin, and it's going to be a barcode. Like, okay, let the kid. As a kid, I was like, all right, that's kind of scary, but all right. And then in my phase of like question everything. But that type of technology is already here. Where what
Mhm.
Amazon's doing, where they're inserting the chip like in your wrist, and you can just pay with your hand. I'm like, oh, well, there's what my parents were talking about.
That
Yeah,
is
I'm not doing
actually, yeah, that is actually an upgrade on technology that's been around for 23 years.
Yeah, it is.
They started, there was I think the first volunteer family to get chipped was in Florida, as a matter of fact. And they had identification chips with all of their information on it implanted into each member of their family, including their children. And it was, if I remember right, in the left hand between the juncture of the forefinger and the thumb.
Yep. Yeah, I know like technology of pets getting chipped. All my dogs are chipped because I would cry and lose my life. Not lose my life, but like I'd be
Lose your
severely.
mind?
Yeah, I would lose my mind if my dogs went missing. The fact that if people found my dogs, just do a scanner, like, oh, here's the contact of the owner, give them a call. Well, yeah, that's I know that was part of the family in Florida that did the voluntary testing.
Yeah,
So-
this is why I have an issue with Neuralink.
Yeah.
Because Neuralink supposedly does all that same shit and will completely erase the need for personal computers or cell phones or any of that stuff and connect us all directly.
Where you can think of calling your mom and it'll still connect you.
Yeah, and then you'll hear the phone call inside your skull. I mean, I don't like that.
Yeah, and
but-
it's also copying other thoughts from me. No, I'm good.
Like I don't already have my mother's voice in my head, right?
yeah.
You know?
Like, what was it like on what was that movie from the Fifth Element? Samuel, you miserable bastard! I never should have pushed you out.
Yeah.
So I was on Roman of the Empire stream last night, and I had to break it to him that I've never seen Fifth Element.
Oh,
For shame.
I know, and I had seaweed on my face, but I do have a list on my phone of movies that I need to watch and books I need to read. Because
you ever seen
no, I was
Scarface?
no.
Know me.
I was severely homeschooled. I wasn't allowed to see any of these movies.
You've been an adult for how
How
long
long
now?
have you? Yeah, how long have you been over 18?
Well, I mean, you don't have to
Okay,
give a specific
did-
answer, but yeah,
I didn't move out of my parents' house until I was 27.
even Ozzy's like shame.
So like yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Watch it now.
You tell her stupid.
Yeah, Citizen Kane's another good one. That's a good movie.
Yep.
That is another
Oh,
movie I
I
haven't
saw that
seen.
one.
Oh Jesus!
You've never seen Citizen Kane?
I'm about to break your heart. I broke JV's heart last night. I haven't even seen The Crow.
Okay, we can't be friends anymore.
I'm gonna see it. It's
We
also
can't.
on my-
I thought you were gonna say the Batman movies because that that directly affects him. What about the Joker movie? Did you watch it?
I saw the Joker movie.
Okay, then
I
that saves you
haven't
with JB.
seen the Tim Burton Batman movies. That's
What? Those are better than. Those are the best ones.
I know. Actually, I need to put that down on my list.
I'm
You're
shocked.
probably gonna go watch that Flash movie.
I hear it's kind of good.
It's not going to make as much sense without watching the Tim Burton Batman movies because that's the
That's what I've
Batman.
been told.
That's the draw.
Tim Burton Batman movies. Okay, got it.
There are only two of them. They're not that long. They're like 90 minutes each.
I know Jim Carrey and Arnold Schwarzenegger is in one of them.
No, that's the Joel Schumacher era.
Yeah,
That's after
Oh.
Tim Burton.
yeah.
Oh,
Jim
okay.
Carrey's in Batman
Three.
Forever, which
Is
had
it Danny
Val
DeVito
Kilmer.
that's in? Who? Okay, which one is Danny DeVito in?
Batman Returns.
Second.
That's the second one. That's the Tim Burton one.
Tim Burton.
And then the
Jack
nice,
Nicholson as
yeah, Jack Nicholson.
Jack
And then
Nicholson as the Joker. That's the first one.
who's the actress that played Catwoman?
Michelle
Michelle
Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer.
There we go. That one.
She's in the
Okay.
second one. Yeah, and
Okay.
she's awesome.
Okay, actually.
But yeah, don't watch the Schumacher ones. They're not good.
They're very campy.
It's like he was trying to mesh like Tim Burton's gothic, stuff
It-
with the
Well, like the
Adam West stuff.
1960s. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
Adam West. It just got stupider and stupider, and I was like,
Okay, so like
"Oh."
Adam West type. So what about the George Clooney ones?
That's the
One.
fourth one.
It's one movie, and he regrets making it, and I regret watching it.
Well, actually, what he said was he said he'd like another crack at it.
No, wait, he also said he's very sorry that he inflicted that upon his audience.
Yeah.
Okay, then
There's a back credit card in it for crying out loud.
Yeah, there is.
okay, which is the one that what actor is in it? He's currently in the newest Spider-Man, but he's the villain. And he was in Morbius as well, because he's the Batman.
Oh, you're talking about homeboy that did American Psycho.
Yeah, you're talking about Michael Keaton. He was
Christian
in the
Bale.
yeah,
Tim
Michael
Burton ones.
Keaton. Yeah,
He was
Michael
in the-
Keaton.
Michael Keaton was in the two Tim
Michael
Burton ones.
Keaton is Batman for the Tim Burton ones.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm writing this
Yeah,
down.
and then Val Kilmer for the first Schumacher
Yes,
one,
that's
and
right.
George Clooney
Yeah,
for the
and
second
George-
Schumacher one.
Okay.
Chris
all right,
O'Donnell
it
played Robin in both.
Hold on, and then it goes to the Christian Bale era.
Okay, I've seen all the Christian Bale ones because
What you see is Christian Bale emulating Michael Keaton's version of Batman.
okay.
Badly.
I don't think that's the case. I think he was.
I
doing
do
his own
think
thing.
that's the case with the voice. Yeah, he was like, nah, Keaton did it best.
Yeah, I think what he was trying to do with that voice is what they did successfully do with the Batflex like voice changer. I think he was
Mhm.
trying to do it with his vocal cords instead of having a digital effect, and I think it came out sounding shitty. But yeah, I don't
I
think it
didn't
was.
like it.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought the movies were good. I thought his performance was fine. I agree with you about that voice though. I don't think that sounded good at all.
No, but as Batman and everything, like the movement, the acting, was spot on. Now the other Batman movie that came out last year, I thought Robert Pattinson as Batman was outstanding.
Mhm.
Horrible Bruce Wayne. Whoever wrote him to look like he was all emo looking. He had this jacked up haircut. I was like, what the?
Yeah, I disagree. I think that movie's overrated, like
Of
highly
course you
overrated.
do. You think everything is overrated.
I think it was trying too hard to be Seven because it was made by the same dude, which is fine for Seven. I thought Seven was fantastic, but
Maybe they told him to do what he was doing.
yeah, or maybe he's just a one-track dude. You
Yeah.
know?
Or
Um,
the way I
and
saw it is like he was trying his best to really run away from him playing Edward in Twilight.
oh no, that I don't have a problem with Pattinson's performance at all. I think Pattinson is actually a fine actor. He just was in some really shitty movies at the start of his career. That did, in fact, make him rich enough to act in whatever he wanted to after that.
Mhm.
I don't have an issue with Pattinson as an actor. I think he's fine and all that. My
He was
issue
also
was
Cedric Diggory in Harry
Harry
Potter.
Potter.
Mhm.
And he
Oh,
did a good
yeah.
job in Tenet. I liked Tenet.
Yeah.
Did you see The Lighthouse?
No, I haven't.
He was in that with Willem Dafoe. It's an interesting movie.
Who played the Green Goblin in Spider-Man?
Hmm.
Yeah, but in this movie, they're both lighthouse keepers who are going mad from loneliness and also possibly an eldritch thing in the water below their lighthouse.
Ooh.
It's a very weird little Lovecraftian kind of thing. Made a big splash a couple years ago, and it's filmed in black and white. It's very much like some old timey stuff. They both put in hell of a good performance. It's a messed up movie though. Just fair warning.
Okay.
No. But I think Pattinson was really good in that. And Defoe, I've never seen a bad performance from that guy, not once.
Well, have you seen Aquaman?
Yeah, his performance wasn't bad, just because the rest of the movie sucks.
I just didn't like how they dressed him or presented him in the movie. Yeah,
Like a femboy.
yeah, the dyed hair, the black dyed hair.
Mhm.
They try to make him look a little younger. I didn't like that of him at all. But
Yeah.
of course, you can't blame the actor. That's just how the studio designed him to be.
Yeah, and I think he does the best he can with everything he's given. Like I said, I've never seen him do a bad performance. I have seen him in some bad films.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorite performances of his was his what the hell was his name? Special Agent. I want to say Becker or Decker, something like that, in the Boondock Saints.
Wait a minute.
Never
That,
seen
no,
the
no, no,
Boondock
no, no.
Saints.
That was no, wasn't that Triple X where he was Deckard? He was the secretary of was he the Secretary of Defense?
I don't remember that movie, man. I was stoned the one and only time I watched it, and that was
Yeah,
like
it
20
was the
years ago.
second it was the second Triple X movie with Ice Cube. He played William Dafoe played Deckard, the main bad guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking of a totally different movie. You've seen the Boondock Saints, right?
No.
And Nomi just said she hasn't. You haven't either. Jeez. Okay. You guys gotta go watch this movie. It's fantastic.
Well, I'm writing it down.
It's got Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery as the main characters.
Nomi, have you ever watched The Boondocks?
That's a whole other can of worms.
Isn't that the animated
Yeah.
Yep.
thing? Yeah. Okay. No, I haven't seen the Boondocks. I'm writing this all down, guys.
Well, I hope you like the N word because that's pretty much the entire script for that whole series.
That I know.
Yeah. Hey, remember when I showed you and the feline that clip of Uncle Ruckus when they had the whole Exorcist thing? No, but you should have seen it. Like, what they had this guy, hey, Tom Dubois, who's a black guy and kind of like the stereotypical, as they call Oreo insult, and he got possessed by this raunchy old black dude that granddad killed, and they called Uncle Ruckus, who was a black dude that swore he was white, and he'd say praise white Jesus, Robert, and he called black people everything in the book, and I'll show you when we get off. But he was going through this list of all this stuff, and he was warning them, and he was just like, "We got to go upstairs and take care of this." He was like, "The end will lie, the end will make excuses. He will use words he don't really know. If he gets nervous, he'll start to rap or dance." It was just crazy. It was just crazy. And he was like, "We got to use these tools to fight him off: a whip, a noose, a branding iron. These things strike fear in the end's heart. A job application." It was funny.
It's yeah,
and,
it's
you,
pretty
and, you,
bad.
and you hear Tom in the background. He's all, "You got bad credit, Robert." And because they've got him tied down to the bed like the exorcist, right? And they get closer, and he's like, "You all testicles and no shaft. What happened to your shaft, Robert?"
I don't know. I might be maybe it's just because I'm too white. I never liked that show.
Of course you didn't.
I just it wasn't for me. It was not made for me. Let me put it that way.
It was made for a particular audience.
Yeah, who's not me?
But the funny thing, most of the people that I know that watched it weren't black.
Like I said, I wouldn't say anything racial there. I know a lot
No,
of people of various stripes who watched it, but it was not for me.
that show
Um,
would not fly today. I mean, there would have been protests and everything.
Yeah, yeah. I think they'd probably get less flack than some other things, but it would get a lot of flack. Ozzy, if you're talking about in the Flash movie, which is basically Flashpoint,
That's
I don't
exactly what
think
it is.
I don't think he's going to be in it any more than I think that the Catalyst character, Reverse Flash, is going to be in it. I don't think either one of those characters in it, and they should be, but
Mm-mm.
they aren't. But if they do have Flashpoint Thomas Wayne in it, then it should be Jeffrey Dean Morgan who played Thomas Wayne in BBS. Frankly, it should be him. It won't be, but it should be. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on whether or not I'm going to actually go watch that or not.
You'll watch it.
I don't know, man. I skipped a lot of stuff in the last couple of years that involved capes. I think the only one I actually went to theaters for was the Spider-Man No Way Home. I went to see that in the theaters. I went out of my way to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League cut, which I did enjoy in general. I thought it was better than the theatrical version they released a few years back. Beyond that, I think oh no, I tell a lie. I went to see James Gunn's The Suicide Squad in theaters. I did see that there. But other than that, I haven't gone to see any superhero stuff. I haven't even watched much of it at home. Skipped most of the Disney Plus television series. I haven't watched much in the way of HBO Max's stuff involving that, except for things that I'd already seen. That sort of thing. So now I skipped a lot of stuff. I went to see things like Monster Hunter and Cocaine Bear. Fun movies.
Yeah, fun.
Slapstick movies.
There's nothing wrong with some dumb fun.
No, there isn't.
Sometimes that's exactly what the doctor ordered. Is just dumb fun.
I
Hell,
I think you increase your dumb fun cinematic adventures if you go to happy hour before.
See, I don't drink that much.
Okay, smoke.
No.
Whatever your vice is.
Yeah, I smoke nicotine and I drink caffeine, and that's pretty much it. Occasionally I'll have a finger of scotch, but that's like a once every 3 month kind of thing.
Okay, then never mind. But as long as you find the enjoyment in dumb movies, that's even better.
Yeah,
You don't need anything to enhance that.
Oh yeah, no, I do. I very much I like good movies too, but I do enjoy bad movies. Like delightfully bad movies. Not just movies that suck.
What would you label, or what would be a delightfully bad movie?
Velocipaster.
Okay. I know of that movie, but what is it about Velocipaster that's terrible, but you love it?
All right, so the opening scene. First of all, the premise is ridiculous and it's hilarious. It's about a priest who goes to Tibet and gets like cursed by like Tibetan monks or whatever, and now he's a Velocipaster or Velociraptor. Like he turns into a dinosaur when he gets pissed about stuff, and then he eats everybody in the room. Except that it's done so poorly that he's like at one point he learns how to just turn his hands into like dinosaur claws, and the rest of them is still him. But they're just these like cheap Halloween gloves you can see they got at the clearance rack at fucking Kmart. They're not
Wait,
even. They didn't even try to. They
Do
didn't
you
even
still
try to.
have Kmart?
Not anymore. But they didn't even try to blend in the ends of the gloves with his arms. He's just wearing these gloves. It's so bad. There's a bit at the beginning where he's saying goodbye to his parents and they're going to get into this car and go away. And he turns his back and you hear this explosion, right? And you're like, oh no. And he turns around and there's nothing there. They've even removed the car and there's just this placard that says explosion effects go here. It's so awesome. And there's ninjas in it, and it's great. I love it. It's just absolutely ridiculous and very low budget.
You know what? I'll take a whack at it. I'll watch it for sure.
Yeah, it's good. I picked up this one from like every once in a while I'll go through the local Walmart and they'll have those like bins that have random shit in them.
Mm.
And I picked up this one a couple of weeks back called Glorious. Do you know who Ryan Quanten is?
I believe not. No.
Okay. Did you ever watch True Blood?
Yep.
No.
Okay. So Larry would know. He plays Sookie's brother.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So it's about this guy who gets stuck at a rest stop in the middle of nowhere. And it's really a one-man show. I mean, there are other people in it, but briefly. Where he is trapped inside the bathroom and he can't get out. And there's something in the darkened stall at the end of the restroom that claims to be an extra dimensional entity, like from Lovecraft and shit. And it just wants to have a conversation with him and it won't let him go till it has its say. The entity is voiced by J.K. Simmons.
Ooh.
And there may or may not be a glory hole involved.
Okay.
It's a wild movie. Unfortunately, the twist at the end is somewhat predictable, but it was still enjoyably done. And there's a few special effects things in it that I didn't really care for, but otherwise, yeah, it's just a random pick I pulled off the shelf. I enjoyed the shit out of it. It's called Glorious, which I assume is in reference to the glory hole, and also the Eldritch God thing. But yeah.
All right. Well, let me write that down in my list of movies to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Under Big Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we are approaching 2 a.m. where I'm at.
That is a fact. It is nearly midnight here. No, but you're on Central or Mountain Time.
I'm Mountain Time. I'm your time as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're saying. Oh, good. Then that means I don't have to like do conversions when I ask you to be someplace. I'm really bad at time zone conversions.
No, El Paso is Mountain Time.
Good deal. Good deal.
I keep forgetting how big Texas is. I keep thinking they're like all of Texas is 2 hours. It's 3 hours ahead, and it's like no.
There are 3 time zones in Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
2.
Just 2?
Yeah.
Ah. Well, even so.
Mountain because like literally the tip, which is where I'm from, and then Central.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, El Paso did label the name just the tip. And that's where I'm at.
I gotta get one of those sound bits. The
Let me just step in just the tip.
Yeah, just the tip.
It's
It's just the tip of Texas.
Yeah, it's never just the tip.
No. Yeah, just New Mexico try to be cool, but they're not. It's because we just gave them just the tip.
You weren't kidding the other day when you said you don't like your own people.
Wait, what? What did you say?
Said you weren't kidding the other day when you said you don't like your own people.
Yeah, I don't.
You're like, fuck you, Texas, or fuck you, Mexico. And you know what? Texas is fucking you.
Yep.
Just the tip was a lie. We're all in.
Yeah. Well, it does border New Mexico pretty well, so
Yeah.
they're not only getting just a feel, they're getting a full embrace almost.
All right. On that happy note, we are going to cut this short because otherwise I'm going to take this metaphor too far. I mean, let's be honest. It'll be me.
Okay. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, Nomi, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Know Me Without You and on my YouTube channel at Know Me Without You. I'll be posting my third video this coming Monday.
Nice. Looking forward to it.
You may see me fall down and eat shit at the beach, but
Oh,
you'll see some fun stuff.
This is the cruise video, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I've been looking forward to that since you announced you were dropping it last week.
Yeah.
Nomitron's gonna transform.
Yeah.
I'm gonna transform into an overly seasick person because that was a real thing on that cruise.
Yeah, I don't envy you that. And knowing me, I would have gone on a cruise and I would have forgotten all about that. Hey, Sam, I don't know if you remember what we said about Nomi coming back by the skin of her teeth before that storm. Sure enough, there was an article of a I think it was a Carnival cruise
It
line.
was a Carnival cruise, which is the
Yup.
cruise line I
Mhm.
was on.
And they got caught in that storm.
Yeah.
They started taking on water and everything.
Yeah, I saw the video of the cabins being flooded. It's like, yeah, I would start crying. You'd probably find me in a corner and just
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember. Like I told you when I told my mom, I was like, "Oh yeah, Nomi's been out for a while. She's on a cruise. Should be back soon and all that stuff." She's like, "She's on a cruise, like right now. She needs to get the hell out of there. Get on land." And I was like, "Wow, she made landfall 3 days ago. She's just not back on the show yet because we haven't had one this week yet."
Mhm.
And she's like, "Oh, good." And she was really worried about you.
Oh, well, thank you. Tell Mama Infamous that I appreciate her well thoughts.
Will do.
Yeah. But I
So-
have I've gotten over the sickness of being landlocked now because after the cruise, I definitely had, how would you call it, vertigo, where I'd be standing normally
Mhm.
and next thing I'd feel like a small shift, but that would throw me off hard where I get disoriented and like bookshelves and things around me starts moving where I got confused and dizzy hard.
Yeah, you do really, really poorly in 0G.
I do. Yeah. If I park and I see and I'm not aware and the car next to me is pulling out, that will throw me off.
Do you have stock in Dramamine?
No, the first time I ever had Dramamine was on this cruise.
Ah, fair enough. Be careful with it
Oh yeah.
because it is easy enough to overdose on that. When I was a kid, there were a couple of kids who got a hold of their parent supplier or whatever and took a bunch of it, and they ended up in Spring Creek in Colorado, died of hypothermia.
Oh wow.
Yeah, ended up washing up in Greeley, which is about
Mm.
30 miles from where they started.
Dang.
So yeah, just be careful with it. Pay attention to the dosage.
Oh yeah. No, I only took one and it knocked me out for 8 hours. I woke up just in time for dinner.
Yeah, that might be too much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I only took one.
Yeah, like
And they're
maybe
tiny.
get one of those like pill cutters.
Or just like
Yeah, well, don't. I mean, you could do it that way too, but but don't. They sell these things that are like little guillotines. You can get them at local pharmacies and stuff like that will cut your pills.
Okay.
And all that, and you'll end up with a little bit of residue, which is fine. Just ignore it, but just take try half dose. See if that doesn't knock you out for a whole day.
Well, there's the less non-drowsy one, which is my friend that had the other one, the non-drowsy one, and I took that. Green apples help. Okay, I'll try that next time for dizziness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Larry, where can the good people find you?
Well, the good people can find me right here on Abyssal Musings. You can also find me at my channel, Lawrence Knight. However, it will not be the channel that I'll be doing my videos and everything on. So that channel will be upcoming, and by the time we come around next week, I'll be able to give you guys the link.
Good deal. Good
Nice.
deal. Looking forward to that. Yeah, as for me, I'm Samuel the Infamous. My channel, y'all are familiar with me. You can find me here Friday nights for Abyssal Musings, Saturday afternoons for Screaming to the Void, and now Sunday afternoons for Picard Season 3, Episode 5, I think this week we're doing. And miscellaneous other streams where I might pop up elsewhere. In fact, I think I did one on Clue's channel late Sunday night around 2 in the morning.
Oh wow.
You know, so yeah, and to answer your question, Ozzy, the plan is to get it simultaneously running on Rumble. Whether or not that actually happens, we'll see. The plan is to, if she decides to stream this weekend, but yeah, it's streaming directly to Rumble is kind of a pain in the dick, so we'll see how that works out. Eventually, yes. I don't want to make too strict a promise for this weekend, but hopefully. So, and then, yeah, as far as that goes, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here. And as a reminder, like I said at the top of the show, for those of you who came in later, the reason for the American flag in the background and the reason for the rather patriotic border around my avatar is because I'm taking fucking Pride Month back.
As you should, as any proud American would.
Yeah. So, and that is, and so yes, these will be the look and the colors for the month of June here on this channel. Otherwise, yeah, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate all of you. It's been a great conversation. Had a lot of fun.
Had a
Thank
great
you
time.
to my co-host Lawrence and to our guest host Nomi. And yeah, it's been good. Have a great night. We will see you next time.
What is it?